Hello and welcome to Big City Productions. I'm your host, Jillian Willard. North Star Ice, found in 1954 in London, Ontario, has become one of the leading ice producers to London and the surrounding area. Ross Mybert and his family have dedicated 50 years to producing and selling ice to partygoers, barbecue lovers, and anyone in need of a cool drink. North Star Ice produces 135 tons of ice per day. This is pretty unbelievable considering my ice cube tray only holds 14 cubes at a time. Before we can take a look at how ice is made, let's take a trip back in time and look at the history of ice.
I'm Ross Mybert, owner of North Star Ice Company here in London, Ontario, and we service an area of approximately 75 miles around our London city here. Well, a lot of people don't realize that our ice business is a new ice business. There's actually 3 ice ages where in the old days you used to cut the water, cut the ice out of the lakes and ponds, and that was called the natural ice industry. It was based on the farm industry. It provided revenue for farmers, and they'd measure the ice. When it got about 12 inches thick, they'd start cutting it. And they called all the farmers in the area would come and work in the ice fields. And that's why today, even when our new machines let a load of ice make and drop, we call that a harvest. And when these farmers came in, a lot of the terminology in the ice industry is from the farm. They use farm tools to cut the ice. This right here is an ice plow. And again, the farmers recognized it as a plow when they're called in to cut the ice. And oh God, I can go on. Nearly the saws, everything was based on what farmers used because it produced a lot of, if you check the pictures, literally hundreds of people worked in the natural ice industry, and it became famous. There was one guy down in New York, Tudor his name was, he actually had clipper ships and he shipped ice right around the world out of the Hudson River. The ice was pure up in the New England states. He shipped it to England. He even was the purveyor of ice to the Queen of England. A tremendously interesting story on the natural ice industry. Here in London, we had a thriving natural ice industry because the Thames River, they actually cut it out of the forks down there. The old first London Ice House is now, I believe it's about down Cab's head office down on 10th Street there. But the big area here was the coves, and there was 3 or 4 ice companies cut ice on the coves. But they cut ice out of there right up, oh God, right up until about the war there. One interesting point, and we're going back quite a ways, is when the British Army was here in London at Victoria Park. And you know, as I don't make much noise, that's maybe I should have, but when they named it Kenneth Park, the British soldiers dug that out. There was a Carling Creek, and Carling Brewery was at the end of it down at Pall Mall. And that creek ran through that area where they call it Kenneth Park, I believe that's the name now. But when the British Army was here, they widened that creek out and dug it out, and they named it Lake Horn. And I always feel the Kenneth Park should have been named Lake Horn Park because the soldiers had dug that all out to supply. And they swam in it in the summertime, and then in the wintertime they cut ice on it for their army camps, which was right in Victoria Park right there. The river just got so polluted that it was real bad. And then after that, they started making it in factories in big blocks, and that was called the artificial ice industry. And then all across America, they started building ice plants beside train stations and railroad tracks, I should say, because they had to ice those railroad cars as they went. That produce from California became possible across North America, and they'd ice them. And all the, not all of them, but I'd say 90% of the old artificial ice plants were built along railroad tracks to ice trains as they went through. That really got the ice industry going. But then as electric refrigeration came, all those plants were shut down right across America. Huge. I mean, we talk about lost jobs now and all that. All those people got put out of work. It's all a cycle, you know. One door shuts, another door opens. It's quite a story on how I got in the ice business. We were in the coin-op laundry business, and a friend of mine had a coin-operated ice dispenser and one ice cuber. And he sold me that equipment. Because I had the coin-op laundry, we put this coin-op ice dispenser beside the coin-op laundry. Then I had a fella bugging me to put a box in a brand new, that time was a British Petroleum station at Huron and Highbury. And we put the box in there, and it took off quite rapidly, actually. And before that year was up, we had about 35 boxes around the city. We started as a package ice company in '54. Fortunate enough, I nosed around in the business, met a lot of people, and I found out about ice merchandisers rather than household freezers. Well, ice merchandisers, they're all come from the States, and actually a guy named Roth invented them. And you'll find our glass door merchandisers in variety stores, grocery stores, that type of thing, all around the city and in our area here. I drive around the city and see literally hundreds of places that we've had ice that have disappeared. I just can't, it's hard. I mean, I make that statement, people say, oh no, but it's the truth. You can't hardly believe the gas stations. At one time we had gas stations 3 and 4 in every corner, and they're just disappearing like mad. You can't believe it. Probably part of the reason why the gas stations don't represent the sales they used to is when we started, Joe McCoy will say ran a corner gas station all his life. Those guys are all gone now, and nearly all the gas stations are run by managers for the big oil companies, and there's no close relationship. The managers change. God, we can't hardly keep up with it. They change. Even their supervisors change almost on a weekly basis, and you don't get the customer loyalty at the gas station that you used to. And that actually has, I think, affected our sales at gas stations. We started making 400 pounds a day, and today we make 135 ton a day. So that's 135 times 2,000, I guess. You have to get your calculator out and do that one. It's a lot of ice anyway. Basically, we started off just doing a good job of building on our own, but this business is very investment intensive. Every one of our merchandisers basically is $2,000. Some of the bigger ones go up to $3,000 for an ice merchandiser. So it made it very difficult for growth for a lot of people, and many of them that started quit because of the money, the payback, and today it's even worse. The relationship to the income and the investment in boxes got very high. And these smaller companies, and I was one of the smaller companies, eventually we just had to be in a position to buy out one here and one there, and over the years I suppose we bought out about 20 small ice companies and more or less dominate our market, but we still have a lot of competition. In Ontario there's over 40 independent ice companies in Ontario, and all vying for market share. Well, the main thing is that you've got to work pretty hard at the business, and a lot of people like to play golf every afternoon, and you can't play golf and run an ice company. It's that simple. It requires a lot of dedication. Over the years, we built up a lot of fellows work for us. We have extremely good people that work for us. They really come in here and they really put out the product for us. And that's the secret right there, is to get the product to the customer. As we try to explain to our customers that An empty box doesn't make them any money, it doesn't make us any money, and we have to keep it full, and we work very hard on weekends, which some of our competitors don't want to do, work Saturday, Sunday. For some people, that's just too much, and particularly when you're investing a lot of money, those type of people that invest money don't expect to have to work in their business. They expect other people to do it for them. And if that happens, they lose control of it, and they're glad to get out of the business. Customer service is 100% of it, really. The product is important, but a lot of people can make a good product. But the big thing, and I mentioned a minute ago, is getting that product out to the customer, not allowing those merchandise to run out of ice, and nearly all of them do by Saturday night, so that means Sunday work for sure. And that's what it's all about, service. Like the party is at 8 o'clock, if you get the ice there at 11 o'clock, it's really not much good to you. So service is where it's at, and it requires an awful lot of work. It always goes back to KISS. If it gets too complicated, it isn't worth it. And we try to keep it, we're willing to take chances to a degree. One thing that I've learned, basically, there's very few shortcuts in life. Either do it right the first time or don't do it at all.